The government seemed to have hardened its stance over the Kingfisher Airlines. Civil Aviation Minister Ajit Singh has put the ball in Vijay Mallya's court, saying that the airlines need to come up with a detailed, concrete plan. That Civil Aviation Minister saying it's the owner of the airlines, Vijay Mallya, who'd have to draw up a concrete plan even as the airlines is in fresh turbulence. Let's listen to the Civil Aviation Minister.
Basically, the questions that DGC had raised with the CEO of Kingfisher, those questions are still there. Nothing has come from them. That how will they maintain the integrity of the schedule and how they will get those planes certified as safe. So until they come back, there is nothing we have to do.
Durga Nandini now joins us with more details. Durga, the minister there maintaining that he has received the report there from the watchdog, from the DGCA. Is he now going to wait from some sort of concrete plan that might come up from Vijay Mallya's side, or is the minister likely to take a decision based on the DGCA report?
Well, I am here at this meeting between the Kingfisher management and its employees. It's just got over, and we did not get a statement from the Kingfisher CEO. He, in fact, left the venue of the meeting immediately after he came out without taking any questions from the media. The features of the CEO indicating that things have not gone too well between the management and the employees. So at this point in time, we see that clearly indications are that the deadlock seems to be continuing. More so now, the ministry is very closely monitoring the entire situation, because October 4th was the deadline which the management had set for the partial shutdown, and now things seem to be where they were initially. At this point in time, we see that the deadlock seems to be continuing. The employees don't seem to have come to an agreement with the Kingfisher management, but we are waiting for a word from the employee side as to whether the offer of 2 months' salaries to a certain section of the engineers is acceptable to them. That word hasn't come in yet.
Well, the partial lockout of the airlines is expected to end today. Durga, we'll of course keep a close eye on all those developments. So the CEO of the airlines meeting the employees. He's dashing across to various parts of the country to meet these striking employees. So far, no end to this deadlock that has been on for months together. In the meantime, the DGCA has submitted a report to Kingfisher Airlines. The report, in fact, will virtually decide the fate of the airline. The Civil Aviation Minister has now said that he will take a decision on the airline after going through the details of this report. Now, the final decision on operations will be taken today, as the partial lockout too that's been announced by the striking employees ends today. The airline is making last-ditch attempt to placate its striking employees. The CEO meeting some of them in Delhi, as Durga was just reporting. Management, in fact, has called up some of the engineers too, and has maintained so far that they could pay up to 2 months' salary, though there has been no assurance and no word really from the striking employees either. Well, Durga is still with us. Durga, as I was asking you, the Civil Aviation Minister, it appears, has put the ball in the court of Vijay Mallya, saying that it's for the airline actually to come up with some sort of a plan. So is he going to take a decision based on the DGCA interim report that has already reached his office, or is he also going to wait and hear a word from the Kingfisher Airlines side?
Some airports also, now all of your jobs are.
All right, we try and go back to Durga in just a bit. In the meantime, let's tell you what's happened. Kingfisher CEO is meeting striking employees in various parts of the countries. Remember, it's the last day of the lockdown, the partial lockdown of the airline. It's scheduled to end today. The CEO, Sanjay Agrawal, is dashing across the country, meeting these employees who have been on a strike. The government, in fact, has said that they need concrete plan from the Kingfisher Airlines on how it's going to operate, how will it maintain its schedule. Also, at the same time, how will it ensure the airworthiness, air safety of its flight. That is, of course, the primary concern here. Civil Aviation Minister Ajit Singh saying that the ball is in Kingfisher's court. So what action will the government take next? Will the Civil Aviation Minister come down hard on the airlines as he's now received the DGCA report? Will a final decision be taken on Kingfisher Airlines? It's been weeks and months since this crisis has been going on. Every few weeks, it erupts. Will the minister now come down hard on the airline? We now have Mr. Jitendra Bhargav, aviation expert, now joining us. Mr. Bhargav, what do you think the government should do right now? It has in its possession the DGCA report. Should it take action based on that report, or should it still wait for an audience from Kingfisher Airlines?
You see, the government must fulfill its part of the responsibility of ensuring that passengers have flights which are operated as per the announced schedule by an airline. It has been seen over a period of time that Kingfisher has not been able to live up to its commitments made to DGCA. Now, the financial scene is very clear that Kingfisher has no way of getting enough finances to run its flights. The second part, employees can't really be faulted if they say they haven't been paid for 7 months. Now, if employees are not going to work, the government must give Kingfisher a clear notice saying suspend flights and you shall be allowed to operate only when you show to the DGCA that you have adequate money to run the flights. Else, there is no point in allowing Kingfisher to operate skeletal services as and when it wants, and the employees going on strike as and when they want. This does not behove the Civil Aviation Ministry, nor does it mean good for the country.
Mr. Bhargav, do you think that so far the Civil Aviation Ministry had given a long rope to Kingfisher, and now it's actually time for the government, for the ministry, in fact, to force a closure on Kingfisher, considering the sort of inconvenience it's causing to passengers, keeping in mind that salaries have not been paid to its employees for months together?
See, there's no denying the fact that the ministry has given Kingfisher a far more longer rope than was necessary. Aviation business is such where you can, on a piece of paper, put the finances and say whether this airline is in a position to run the flights or not. Take a comparative study. Good airlines, Indigo, Jet Airways, which are operating with much higher load factors, charging passenger much higher fares, are only making a small surplus. Kingfisher, on the other hand, with very small market share, highly low fares, low load factors, how can it break even? And when you have 8,000 crores already on your balance sheet as debt, making huge losses, banks not willing to give you money, where will the money come from? Now, this is a question that does not need a genius to answer. It's as simple as a class 10 student will be able to answer. So DGCA should have acted in advance. In fact, if you recall, when Mr. Bharat Bhushan was DGCA, he was taking a decision in this direction. I think that was the best time a decision should have been taken, and the last 3 months have been given to Kingfisher, perhaps in the hope that Kingfisher will be able to muster some financial support, keep the airline going, but it hasn't done it. I have always maintained aviation business is different from liquor business. Liquor business, you have a margin of 35 to 40%. In airline industry, you work on a margin of under 2%.
All right.
If you cannot get resources, financial resources to back you up, there is no way that you can survive for very long.
All right. So will Kingfisher go belly up? It looks imminent now. The Civil Aviation Ministry coming down hard at this after the DGCA report was submitted. Thank you, Mr. Bhargav, for joining us this morning. We'll, of course, continue to track those developments.